They laughed at her thrift shop pearls. They doctored her spreadsheets. They called her relic. But the woman they tried to erase wasn't just a quiet grandmother pushing papers. She was the lifelong partner of a billionaire who owed her everything. And when they crossed the final line, Eleanor Brooks opened a ledger that would rewrite all their fates. Monday mornings at Lakeshore Accounting felt like biting into a cold lemon tart, sharp, bracing, and far too bright for weary eyes. At 6:05 a.m., the sky above Chicago glimmered pewter, and Eleanor Brooks already had her kettle on. She moved carefully around her tiny kitchen, a space lined with maple cabinets her late husband had insisted on varnishing himself back in '89. Eleanor was 67 now, silver hair swept in a low hignon, bifocals perched on the bridge of her nose, and a collection of hand-knit cardigans folded like soft soldiers in her wardrobe. The lemon yellow one hung on the chair this morning. She'd finished darning its fraying cuff just the night before. Outside, rain whispered against the window. Inside, classical piano leaked from the countertop. Radio Debussy, her favorite. She stirred 2 teaspoons of honey into Earl Grey, inhaled the bergamot, and checked her planner. Margins reconciled, payroll reviewed, quarterly taxes looming, a full plate for the senior staff accountant at Hartwell Pierce Media Group, the largest advertising conglomerate in the Midwest. She liked the numbers. Numbers, after all, never sneered at your age or chuckled at the size of your pension. They simply told the truth if you listened closely enough. By 6:40, she buttoned her cardigan, careful, steady motions that calmed her nerves more than chamomile ever cold, and locked the front door of her Hyde Park condo. The doorman, Marcus, tipped his cap. "Morning, Ms. Brooks. Weather says it'll clear by 9. Let's hope the forecast behaves." She smiled, passing him a wrapped blueberry muffin. "For your little girl. Study hard, Juliana." The city bus hissed to a stop. 20 minutes later, Eleanor stepped onto Madison Street, umbrella half open, and faced the glinting monolith that was Hartwell Tower. 37 floors of marketing bravado, glass, and mirrored chrome. The lobby smelled of sandalwood and fresh espresso, heck to everyone except Eleanor, who preferred the scent of old libraries. She greeted the security guard, scanned her ID, and waited for elevator D. A group of younger employees clustered nearby, sharp suits, patent heels, coffee cups embossed with eco-friendly slogans they rarely practiced. As the elevator arrived, 2 women, Tasha Miller and Brianna Cole, shuffled closer, voices lowered but not low enough. "Did you see the memo?" "Another cost-cutting audit," Tasha said. Brianna smirked. "I sure know which dinosaur they'll put on the chopping block first." Eleanor pretended not to hear, stepped inside, and pressed 24. The door sealed with a hush. She focused on her reflection, soft cardigan, pearl earrings, kind eyes, then on the digits climbing the lead panel. 8, 12, 17? "Cute sweater," Brianna offered, syrupy sweet. "My grandma loved that shade." The younger men snorted. Eleanor's lips lifted just enough to be polite. "Thank you, my late husband did too." They fell silent, perhaps from guilt, perhaps boredom. The elevator chimed at 24, and she exited. The 24th floor, accounts finance, buzzed like a hive. Glass partitions reflected fluorescent light. Open cubicles lined either side of a long corridor, and an industrial espresso machine hissed from the break room. Eleanor's desk sat near the windows overlooking Lake Michigan, a view reserved, she suspected, to offset her modest salary. She settled in, lined her pencils, powered up the monitor, and placed a framed photo of Harold Brooks near the keyboard. Harold, in tweed and bow tie, had been an economics professor. He also happened to be brother to Victor Pusser, Hago's discreet billionaire philanthropist who avoided camera flashes more avidly than tax loopholes. Family ties had never mattered to Eleanor. She and Harold forged their own quiet life thrift stores, jazz clubs, Sunday crossword battles. But Victor adored them both, and Harold's passing 5 years ago left a hole in the billionaire's life that no art auction could fill. At 8:03 a.m., the first blow landed. "Morning, Ellie," drawled Garrett Shogg, the 32-year-old junior VP who considered gray hairs contagious. He strolled by her cubicle, latte in hand. "Finance needs those variance reports trimmed by lunch. And could you convert them to PowerPoint? The board hates Excel too. Old school." She noted the subtext, "old school like you." "Of course," she replied, voice calm as a pond. He winked, sauntered off, and never saw the tiny crease form between her brows. The morning blurred into formulas and forensic bookkeeping. At 9:15, Eleanor discovered a $48.00 discrepancy in the digital ad spend ledger. Someone had buried the overcharge across multiple client accounts. She flagged it with a red comment bubble. Investigate vendor invoice series 7. Before she could draft an email, a Slack message pinged from Garrett. Gargatish lunch team outing today. Pizza bar down the street. We need someone to mind the phones. You're a star. Translated, you're not invited. She typed back, phones covered. Enjoy. A.B. Mid-morning sunshine glared against the window. She slipped off her bifocals to rub her eyes, noticing a folded note taped to her second monitor. A neat, looping script. Smile more, Ellie. Aging is hard enough. See. Her heart pinched. C was Carla Davenport, the stylish controller who seemed allergic to cardigan fabric. Eleanor slid the note into a drawer without reaction, but the paper's whisper felt like a slap. She steadied herself by pouring decaf from a thermos decorated with cartoon tulips, Grandildren's gift. As she sipped, Carla glided over in red stilettos. Morning, we've decided on a new color palette for client invoices. Pastels are, well, passé. Could you update the templates? You have time. Carla herped, eyes flicking to the tulips. Cute mug. Eleanor answered, I'll handle the palette after variance reports. Carla's smile thinned. Let's prioritize aesthetics, dear. Numbers can wait a sec. She tapped Eleanor's desk twice, pat, and walked away. Dear, Eleanor muttered, returning to her spreadsheet. Harold used to call her professor. A nod to her precision, dear felt condescending in comparison. At 10:38, the office fire drill alarm shrieked. Everyone spilled into the corridor, smartphones aloft, documenting their minor inconvenience for social media glory. Eleanor joined the throng near the stairwell. A push from behind forced her sideways. Watch it, barked Tasha. Eleanor regained balance, blinking. Apologies. But Tasha had already turned to gossip with Brianna about some weekend rooftop gala. Outside, drizzle misted over the evacuation crowd. Eleanor huddled beneath her umbrella. Garrett snapped selfies with interns. Carla adjusted her designer trench. Tasha live-streamed the chaos. No one noticed Eleanor except Roland, the building janitor, who offered a gentle nod. She returned it gratefully. 15 minutes later, the alarm cleared. Humans funneled back inside, wet sneakers squeaking. At her desk, Eleanor found a new Slack tag. Brianna, call Ellie. Could you lend me $5 for vending? Cards demonetized. Eleanor's lips pressed thin. She typed, come by my desk. When Brianna arrived, Eleanor handed her a crisp 5 and added, I track it as IU, row 32. Brianna laughed like it was a joke. Sure, Grandma Ledger, she said, and strutted off. Noon arrived. The office emptied for pizza. Eleanor reheated lentil soup in the break room. She ate alone, listening to rainfall drum the windows. For dessert, she studied the hidden $48. Zero again. The vendor ID traced back to a null registered 2 months prior. Shell Company. She bookmarked the Secretary of State website. Research for later. Had Garrett orchestrated it? Carla. Their salaries were healthy, but greed thrived in expensive shoes. By 2:00 p.m., the team returned smelling of garlic and HEPA. Garrett tossed a paper plate on her desk. Grease circles, crust scraps. Thought you might want leftovers, he winked. Leftovers of what? Respect. She wiped the plate into the trash. Ping, a calendar invite. 30 Finance Inc. Conference B, sent by Carla to everyone except Eleanor. Her exclusion flashed red inside her chest. She opened the invite anyway. Corporate glitch left it visible, and found agenda item 4, succession planning, backfill, senior accountant role, retirement TD. They spoke of her replacement as if she were a faulty printer. A weight settled in her ribcage. She inhaled, counted to 4, exhaled, Harold's old grounding trick. At 3:12, a sudden hush floated through the bullpen. Victor Pierce had entered the floor. The billionaire rarely visited. When he did, oxygen seemed to realign around his calm authority. No cologne, no entourage, just gray cashmere coat, silver hair, and eyes that missed nothing. His presence caused employees to straighten spines like marionettes. Eleanor peeked over her monitor, heart skipping. Victor had not seen her in almost a year. He spoke briefly with the CFO, shook a few hands, then strode closer. Garrett intercepted him. Mr. Pierce, pleasure. Need a tour? We've revamped our dashboards. Victor smiled politely, eyes scanning beyond Garrett until they landed on Eleanor. Recognition twinkled. He stepped past the VP. Eleanor. She rose, smoothing her cardigan. Victor, this is a surprise. Garrett's jaw slackened. Tasha's cappuccino nearly spilled. Victor grasped Eleanor's hands. Lunch soon. Of course. Her cheeks warmed. I'll text. He squeezed gently, then departed as swiftly as he'd come. The entire bullpen buzzed like a short arc-witted neon sign. Garrett rounded on her. You know Mr. Pierce? Eleanor adjusted her bifocals. He was my brother-in-law. Gasps sprouted. Carla appeared from conference B, lips parted. Ellie, didn't you ever mention that? Eleanor turned back to her screen. You never asked. Silent, thick, awkward, almost comical, she resumed typing, satisfied by the rattle of keys. But the moment of respect evaporated within an hour. By 4:00, Garrett and Carla were whispering in the corridor again, plotting, perhaps, how to leverage their newfound connection. Brianna uploaded a TikTok titled When the Office Crypt Keeper Knows the EO's CEO, garnished with a laughing emoji. Eleanor ignored it, but the sting lingered. At 4:45, the rain stopped. Sunlight broke through, lighting Lake Michigan in molten gold. She saved the ledger document and began packing. A new Slack appeared, from a burner account, Old Goat. Time to graze elsewhere, no profile photo. Her fingers trembled. Her policy flagged harassment, but she knew complaints often vanished under bureaucratic dust. Eleanor shut down her PC. As she donned her beige trench, Carla approached, voice syrupy. Heading out? Great, could you drop this FedEx envelope at reception? It's on your way. Inside, Eleanor wanted to refuse, but she accepted with a nod and tucked the envelope under her arm. In the lobby, she handed it to reception, then stepped into the gray evening. The air smelled of wet asphalt and lilacs from planters lining the street. Bus 15 screeched up, doors folding open. She climbed aboard, sat by the window, and let the city drift past in blurred neon. Her phone vibrated, a text from Victor. Dinner Wednesday. Harold would scold me if I let your birthday pass without cake. V. Eleanor exhaled, tears pricking. She typed back, count me in. The bus lumbered south. Rain started again, faint as memory. She watched droplets race down glass, each one a tiny ledger of gravity versus surface tension. Numbers told the truth, and the truth was clear. Someone in that office was siphoning money, mocking loyalty, edging her toward the exit. But the snide notes and sloppy fraud meant they underestimated her. Harold once said, audits aren't about catching mistakes, they're about catching motives. She would audit their motives, scan their morals. Lightning forked over the lake, an idea sparked. Tuesday, she promised herself, would not be business as usual. She folded her umbrella tighter, smiled into the dark, and felt the first ember of resolve ignite, a quiet flame inside a thrift shop cardigan. The Tuesday dawn crept into Chicago like a shy visitor, trailing bands of peach and lavender over Lake Michigan. At 5:45 a.m., Eleanor Brooks sat on her small balcony wrapped in a wool shawl. Sipping cinnamon tea, she watched gulls coast above the water and mulled over a single question: who was stealing from Hartwell Puser, and why risk exposure now? She had slept little. The numbers from yesterday's ledger flickered in her mind. Vendor lol 7. 6 invoices of identical formatting, each split across different client accounts, each just below the internal review threshold. Whoever designed the scheme knew corporate blind spots well. By 6:20 she dressed in a soft moss green cardigan paired with a silk scarf Harold had once brought from Morocco. She selected pearl studs, understated but dignified, and packed her leather portfolio with printouts of every invoice tied to 7. The morning air smelled of damp brick and bakery yeast as she walked to the bus stop. Marcus, the doorman, waved. Big day, Ms. Brooks. Big truth, maybe, she answered, surprising herself with the candor. He chuckled, unsure what she meant. The bus was half empty. Commuters scrawled phones or dozed against windows. Eleanor opened her notebook and created a new tab system. Column A, invoice number. Column B, land build. Column E, internal capover. Column D, date of approval. It took 6 stops to see the pattern. Every fraudulent invoice had sailed through a digital signature belonging to one person, Garrett Shaw. She closed the notebook and stared out at the skyline, steel silhouettes glowing in sunrise. The revelation didn't shock her, it saddened her. Garrett came from money, or so he bragged. Why siphon $48,000? Was it greed or leverage? At 7:05, Eleanor arrived at Hartwell Tower earlier than usual, the lobby lights still dimmed for night mode, casting the marble floor in twilight. Only 2 security guards manned the desk. Morning, Ms. Brooks, one greeted. Morning, Javier. She swiped in and proceeded to elevator 8, notorious for its sluggish ascent but rarely crowded at this hour. As the door shut, she felt the hush of sealed space. A moment to steady her breath. Floor 24 lit up in amber, and the box hummed upward. The accounts finance floor lay empty except for the cleaning crew. The scent of citrus solvent lingered. Eleanor powered on her desktop. the startup jingle echoing in the quiet. She pulled out the invoices, lining them like puzzle pieces. A plan had formed overnight, flagged the irregularities in today's variance meeting, one Garrett could not evade. At 7:32, footsteps approached. Roland, the janitor, emerged from the hallway, pushing a cart laden with mare fiber cloths. "You beat the sun again," he said, voice gentle. "Just catching up. How's your mother, Roland?" "Better, thanks to the new maids." He glanced at her papers. "Looks serious." "In a way," she said. "Numbers can be lifesavers, core weapons." He nodded, wiped a fingerprint smudge from her monitor frame, and moved on. Eleanor watched him go, remembering Harold's words, "Kind eyes spot quiet heroes." Roland, she suspected, saw more corporate secrets than most executives. The clock hit 8:00. Elevators disgorged employees smelling of espresso and ambition. The bullpen swelled with chatter. Tasha strolled in, draped in a blush trench coat, Brianna behind her filming a wardrobe reel for Instagram. Garrett appeared next, whistling Uptown Funk. He set a triple-shot latte on Eleanor's desk with forced cheer. "Fuel for my favorite number cruncher. You'll need it." Quarterly budget review got moved up. "The CFO wants a draft by noon." She thanked him. He sauntered away, oblivious to the open spreadsheet that displayed his digital signature beside the bogus invoices. At 8:17, Carla called an impromptu huddle near the coffee bar. "Team, heads up, we're implementing a sunrise stand-up, 10-minute check-ins at 8:30 sharp. Show speed, show sparkle. The board loves agile." Eleanor disliked pointless jargon, but she'd attend. She printed her findings, slipped them into a manila folder, and joined the circle that formed around Carla like petals around a rose. Carla clapped. "Morning, stars. Let's pop through wins and blockers. I'll start. I finalized the aesthetic refresh for client invoices. Pastels are out. Jewel tones in. Brand love." Brianna squealed approval. Garrett chimed in. "I negotiated a killer discount with our programmatic vendor. Big savings. High fives." He shot Eleanor a grin as if expecting applause. Tasha drafted 3 influencer contracts for the sneakers account. "We're courting a TikTok king." Around the circle they went. Eleanor's turn. "When I reconciled last month's ad spend blocker, I discovered discrepancies that require management review." The word discrepancies stiffened the air. "How big?" Carl asked, faux casual. 48,000 so far. Garrett's brow furrowed. "Probably just routing errors, Ellie. No drama needed." "Perhaps," she conceded, "but best to validate." Carla forced a smile. "Fabulous initiative. Loot me later." She clapped again, ending the stand-up. Employees dispersed like startled birds. Eleanor returned to her desk. Seconds later, Garrett leaned over her partition, voice lowered. "Let's chat in meeting room Delta. 2 minutes. His jaw tightened. The latte cheer was gone. She gathered her folder and followed. Delta sat empty, blinds half drawn. Garrett closed the door, crossed his arms. "Ellie, not everything needs to escalate," he began. "I agree," she said, placing the folder on the table. "Explain these invoices. And it ends here." He flipped through, face blank. "You printed confidential data. Only the pages sign off under your password." A flicker of anger surfaced. "I delegate approvals. Interns could have misliked. You're the sole capover on every instance. This pattern is deliberate." He stepped closer, cologne sharp and spicy. "Look, you're on the cusp of retirement. Don't tangle yourself in political webs. Hand me the files. I'll investigate quietly. Protect everyone's reputation, yours included." She met his gaze. "Integrity doesn't retire, Mr. Shaw." The door opened suddenly, Carla's silhouette framed against fluorescent light. "Oh, didn't know this room was booked," she said, eyes darting between them. "Just wrapping up," Garrett replied quickly and snatched the folder. "Thanks, Ellie, I'll circle back." He strode past Carla and vanished. Eleanor's pulse flagged. Carla lingered. "Everything okay?" the controller asked. "I'm not sure yet." "Well, I hope so. Stress at your age can be complicated." She flashed a sympathetic smile that didn't reach her eyes and left. Eleanor felt a wave of frustration. Garrett now controlled the physical evidence. She still had digital copies, but confrontation would escalate regardless. She opened her planner. Step 1, backup files to encrypted drive. Step 2, escalate to compliance if stonewalled. Step 3, consult Victor. She tapped the pen thoughtfully. Invoking Victor's name too soon could backfire, casting her as nepotiste. She needed leverage and tainted by family ties. At 10:04, an email pinged urgent budget review slides from Garrett. In Carla and the CFO subject line flagged red. The deck attached bore Eleanor's name as author, yet she had never created it. She opened the file. 9 slides, garish jewel tones, numbers misaligned. A $200 forecasting error glaring on slide 4. The timestamp indicated creation at 9:50 a.m. while she was in meeting room Delta. Her lungs tightened. This was sabotage, a setup to paint her as incompetent. A second email arrived from Garrett. Ellie saw urgent mistakes in your draft. Please correct before noon. Before she could reply, Carla aimed, let's discuss reassigning deck. We can't risk board jitters. Meet at 11? Eleanor inhaled through her nose, exhaled slowly. Fight or flight. She chose fight. She opened the slide deck's metadata. Author Garrett. Shop media. Calm. Revision history showed him copying her report summaries into the template. Then overwriting figures with inflated values. Screenshots would suffice. She saved them to her encrypted drive. At 10:30, Roland passed by again. All good? He asked softly. Not yet, she admitted. Could you do me a favor? If someone tries to access my desk, would you note the time? He nodded. You got it. Their alliance, though unspoken, felt like iron. The 11:00 meeting with Carla occurred in Glass Bubble, nicknamed for its transparent walls. Eleanor presented her case with calm precision: timeline discrepancy, metadata proof, invoice fraud. Carla's expression hardened. These are serious allegations, she said, but without original printouts. Garrett removed them from meeting room Delta. Footage will confirm. Carla crossed arms. Security footage only retained 24 hours for non-public areas. Delta footage auto-overwrites at midnight. Eleanor expected that. Digital signatures remain. All involve compliance. Carla leaned closer. Ellie, think. The board values harmony. Dragging this out may hurt your pension negotiation. The threat hung like poison mist. Eleanor stood. My conscience is not for sale. Leaving Carla speechless, she exited and walked straight to compliance on floor 18. The compliance office smelled of recycled paper and quiet dread. She met with Priya Mehta, a sharp analyst with ink-black hair pinned sleekly. I need to file 2 reports: procurement fraud and document falsification, Eleanor said, placing a USB on the desk. Priya listened, reviewing evidence swiftly. This is substantial. We'll open an investigation. I must inform the CFO and legal. Understood. Eleanor signed the statement. Relief mingled with anxiety. Truth in motion invites backlash. Back upstairs, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations dimmed when she passed. Brianna's eyes tracked her like a hawk chasing movement. A rumor had sprouted. At 12:45, Garrett strutted by holding a Caesar wrap. He dropped a post-it on her keyboard. Meeting. 1 p.m. Conf B. Mandatory. Inside conference B waited the CFO, Carla, Garrett, and, unexpectedly, Deborah Wong, the senior VP of strategy. Rarely mingled in floor-level disputes. Her presence signaled gravity. The CFO, slate-eyed and terse, began. Ms. Brooks, irregularities have surfaced regarding your variance analysis and today's budget deck. We must clarify. Garrett projected the doctored slides onto the wall. These reflect Eleanor's numbers. Eleanor stepped forward. Those slides were never mine. Metadata proves Mr. Shaw authored them at 9:50 a.m. She plugged in her USB. The screen filled with a side-by-side comparison. Revision history on left. Zoomed file properties on right. Garrett paled. Carla pursed lips. Deborah lifted a brow. Mr. Shaw? He stammered. I merged drafts and didn't realize metadata tag faulted. Or Deborah countered. You engineered a smear. She turned to the CFO. Coupled with the invoice scheme flagged by Ms. Brooks, we have a pattern. The CFO frowned. Invoice scheme. Priya from compliance stepped in. Eleanor hadn't seen her arrive. Yes, sir. We opened case 3478. Evidence indicates fraudulent vendor approvals. Mr. Shaw's credentials are implicated. A thick silence drowned the room. Carla's eyes darted between Garrett and the execs. Garrett blurted, Carla approved the spending too. Carla snapped, excuse me? The CFO cut through the chaos. Enough. Both of you were hold. Effective now, security will escort you to collect belongings. Garrett looked like a marionette with strings severed. Carla's composure cracked, red blooming across her cheeks. Eleanor remained still, heart hammering but face serene. Deborah met her gaze with something like respect. Ms. Brooks, thank you for diligence, the VP said. I'll brief Mr. Greer personally. The CFO added, and your scheduled retirement. Consider it flexible. We need leadership rooted in ethics. Eleanor inclined her head. I'm at the company's service. By 2:15, the floor buzzed with rumors turned fact. Garrett and Carla marched out. Security flanking them, ID badges deactivated. Brianna's phone rose to film. Roland gently lowered her wrist. "Not today," he murmured. Eleanor watched from her seat, emotions swirling: vindication, relief, sorrow for wasted talent. She opened a new Excel sheet titled Rebuild Plan. Numbers still needed her care. At 3:00, her desk phone rang. "Brooks," she answered. "Ellie, it's Victor. Just heard the thunder. You all right?" "I'm fine," she said, voice softer. "But the storm's not over." "Need cavalry?" "Not yet. Let me try diplomacy first." He chuckled. "You always were the family's statesman. Dinner tomorrow stands." "Yes, and maybe a slice of strategy on the side." After hanging up, she breathed in the afternoon stillness. Light slanted golden through the windows, catching dust motes dancing like fireflies. She retrieved the moss-green cardigan from her chair, smoothing its sleeves. The fabric now carried faint espresso scent, souvenir of the morning's confrontation. She slipped it on, feeling its warmth. At 4:30, Deborah emailed her need interim lead for finance until audit concludes. "Meet Ada M. tomorrow?" Eleanor smiled. She typed, "Happy to help. Please bring real coffee." Clock struck 5. The office emptied. She packed her bag, double-checked the encrypted backups, and turned off her monitor. As she walked toward the elevator, Brianna intercepted her. "Hey, Ms. Brooks," the influencer's usual lilt flattened. "I wanted to apologize for earlier jokes. They weren't cool." Eleanor regarded her, seeing a flicker of sincerity amid self-preservation. "Apology noted. Learn from today, Brianna. Numbers may bore you, but ethics never will." Brianna nodded, eyes glossy. Elevator doors opened. Inside, alone, Eleanor let herself smile at her reflection, shallower wrinkles, shoulders less hunched. Sunrise had begun with a snub. Sunset carried a shift in power. On the bus ride home, the sky blazed coral. Eleanor drafted a new to-do list: 1. Assess payroll team morale. 2. Secure compliance archives. 3. Ask Victor to recommend a cybersecurity firm. 4. Buy lemon tart from the corner bakery. Harold's birthday favorite. Tomorrow would mark 3 years since his passing. She pressed her palm to the window. Warm glass, cool wind. Chicago glimmered with lights flickering on, one office at a time. Hartwell Tower's summit beacon pulsed steady, almost like a heartbeat. "Not business as usual," she whispered, echoing her promise. Indeed, Tuesday had kept its pledge. Wednesday dawned with a pale, reluctant sun that struggled to burn through ribbons of morning fog. Eleanor Brooks rose before the alarm, heart thudding with a cocktail of anticipation and grief. Today marked 3 years since Harold's passing, a private milestone she honored with quiet ritual. She filled the apartment with the aroma of lemon zest, butter, and sugar, whisking batter for the tart he had adored as it baked. She lit a single beeswax candle beside his photo on the mantel. In the frame, his smile leaned sideways, mischievous, as if urging her to keep daring the world even after he'd slipped out of it. She whispered, "Wish me fortitude," blew out the match, and returned to packing her leather satchel. The day's cardigan was midnight blue, flecked with tiny silver threads, a subtle constellation. She chose it deliberately, grief-wrapped in starlight. At 6:55 a.m., she stepped onto the sidewalk, pastry box balanced on one palm, thermos in the other. The bus arrived and she found her usual seat. The city outside still rubbing sleep from its skyline. While concrete blurred past, Eleanor reviewed emails on her phone. Deborah had sent preliminary audit findings overnight. Garrett and Carla's network access logs revealed dozens of extended thin sessions at odd hours and a pattern of incremental transfers to vendor Lul savings. Compliance aimed to freeze accounts by end of week, a victory, yet a fragile one. Workplace power vacuums rarely stayed empty. She braced for new storms. At 7:30, Eleanor entered Hartwell Tower's lobby, greeted by the scent of roasted espresso beans. A new poster stood by Security Code of Integrity. See something, say something. Marketing's attempt at damage control felt ironic, but she noted it anyway. On floor 24, the temperature of culture had not settled. Some cubicles buzzed with relief. Others hummed with resentment. With Garrett and Carla suspended, the team's insecurities floated like unmoored balloons. Leadership-wise, Deborah was interim, but rumor said a high-powered consultant would be parachuted in to steady the ship. Eleanor set the pastry box on the common counter with a note: lemon tart, help yourself. Food she hoped could thaw frost faster than memos. Brianna approached, shoulders tense. "Morning, Ms. Brooks. Loved that tart last time, thank you." "Enjoy," Eleanor said gently. Brianna lingered, eyes darting. "Listen, some people blame you for Garrett's exit. They think you went nuclear." The truth went nuclear, Eleanor corrected softly. I simply lit the match. Brianna swallowed and returned to her desk. 8 o'clock brought the first meeting with Deborah as acting controller. The glass-walled war room brimmed with financial analysts. Eleanor presented a revised cash flow model. Crisp and coherent, Deborah nodded approvingly. Discussion turned to who would handle liaison with the European AdTech branch. I'll do it, said a new voice, smooth, confident. Everyone turned as a tall woman in a cream blazer entered unannounced. Chestnut curls framed piercing hazel eyes, her heels clicked like punctuation. Eva Laurent, she introduced. Corporate has asked me to shepherd finance during our transition. She emphasized the last word with velvet menace. Eleanor recognized the name. Eva had a reputation for ruthless turnarounds. Slashed 40% of staff at a rival firm last year in what headlines called the Laurent Purge. Deborah forced a polite smile. Eva, welcome. We're finishing variance updates. Carry on, Eva said, taking a seat, crossing legs. I'm here to observe, then optimize. Her gaze swept the room, landing briefly on Eleanor. Something flickered, curiosity, challenge. The meeting concluded with action items. Eva requested 1 components that afternoon. People departed whispering. Back at her cubicle, Eleanor signed into the enterprise chat. Dozens of DMs flooded in. Who is she? Another hatchet woman. We're doomed, she replied to none, instead uploading the updated model. At 10:15, Roland rolled his cleaning cart by and pointed to the pastry plate. A single crumb remained. Hit the spot, he said. Glad to hear, Eleanor replied. Could you do me a kindness? If you see anyone tampering with desks again, note it. Roland tapped his temple, eyes peeled. By 10:30 the office smelled of caramel macchiatos. Tasha flaunted a tray. Gifting influencers in training. She bypassed Eleanor's desk, then paused, glanced at the nearly empty tar plate. Nice bribe, she muttered. Eleanor met her gaze unflinching. Kindness isn't currency. You're welcome to the last slice. Tasha shifted, surprised, but declined and moved on. At 11:00 Eva summoned Eleanor. The interim director's temporary office overlooked the Chicago River. Sunlight glinted off water, dancing reflections on the ceiling. Ms. Brooks, Eva began, eye sharp. Your reputation precedes you. Audit heroics. Family ties to Victor Pierce. Quite the resume. Eleanor sat, hands folded. I prefer numbers to accolades. Numbers, yes. I cross-checked your reconciliation models. Impeccable. Yet legacy employees often resist modernization. Integrity isn't antique, Eleanor replied gently. Eva's lips curved. Good. I plan to restructure flows. Some redundant roles may dissolve. I hope you can champion change rather than cling to nostalgia. I champion merit. Change without values is chaos. The room crackled with unspoken sparks. Eva finally nodded. Fair answer. We'll talk again. Eleanor departed, sensing an approaching storm with a different scent than Garrett's amateur greed, a storm perfumed with calculated ambition. Lunch hour. Many employees deserted for the gourmet taco truck downstairs. Eleanor heated vegetable stew and reviewed cross-border tax treaties. She noticed Brianna at the sink washing Tupperware, shoulders slumped. You okay? Eleanor asked. Brianna shrugged. Hard day. Garrett promised promotions. Now it's like the rug's gone. Talents stand on their own, Eleanor offered. If you want mentorship, I'm available. Brianna's eyes widened, surprised by genuine offer. I'd like that. She left with tentative hope. At Connect Wendy, Eva called in all hands in the open area. She ascended a small riser. Team, our vision is excellence free from complacency. Effective now. Performance benchmarks will tighten. Friday I'll present a streamlined org chart. Meanwhile, deliverables double. Deadlines half. Murmurs rippled. She continued. Complacency will be discouraged. Eyes flicked to Eleanor, then away. Eleanor felt a chill. Tightening belts after fraud made sense, but this tone reeked of punitive theatrics. 2:00 p.m. Daytime for legacy vendor calls. Eleanor secured a conference room. Midway through, her cell buzzed Victor. She let it ring work first. After finishing, she checked voicemail. Ellie, reservation confirmed for 6:30 at Maison Delise. Car picks you up 5:45. Looking forward. She smiled. Little luxuries Victor insisted upon. Returning to her cubicle, she found something unsettling. Her family photo with Harold lay face down. Glass cracked. A fresh caramel macchiato, extra whip, sat overturned across her keyboard. Coffee soaked the keys, dripping onto expense reports. The lemon tart dish, empty, was smeared with cream and stuck to her monitor with a post-it reading time to retire, relic. Her breath caught. Cruelty, petty yet piercing. Around her, colleagues pretended ignorance. Phones flicked upward then quickly down, catching snapshots. Eleanor reached for tissues, hands trembling. She rescued papers first, blotting them dry. Then mopped the desk. She pressed the power button. The keyboard spit sparks. Screen blacked out. Roland rushed over, eyes wide. Who did this? I don't know, she whispered. He scanned nearby desks. Brianna bit her lip, eyes glossy. Tasha smirked into her phone. Roland ran to fetch a towel. Eleanor noticed a CCTV dome above, newly installed. Maybe hope. Eva appeared, surveying the mess. Problem, she asked, tone almost bored. Vandalism, Eleanor said softly. Eva's gaze traced coffee trails. Unfortunate. Equipment department will invoice you for the keyboard. Invoice me? Personal items should be safeguarded. Office property damaged under your custody is deductible. Eleanor steadied herself. We have cameras. Eva's eyes glinted. Yes, let's pull footage. Complaint loves homework. Meanwhile, borrow a spare device. Deadlines don't pause for spilt lats. She pivoted, heels slicing away. Tasha exhaled a derisive chuckle. Eleanor looked at her, no guilt, only satisfaction. Roland returned with towels and a small fan. We'll dry the docks, he assured. Thank you, Eleanor said, voice athread. Together they cleaned. Each wipe felt like a erasure of dignity yet again. But under the anger, a cooler resolve congealed. Bullying hadn't died. It had shape-shifted. She would not cower. By 3:15, Eleanor sat at a makeshift workstation, clones her laptop, no personal photos. She retrieved backup files from cloud, damage minimal. Co-workers avoided eye contact. An email popped, keyboard damage report, $129. Hardback pending, sent by facilities. CC Eva, another slap. She drafted a response requesting CCTV review, carbon copying security and compliance. She also blind-opized bitter, first time invoking informally, subject line security concern, harassment and property damage. At 3:45, Brianna approached, eyes shining with tears. I swear I didn't do it. Tasha thought it was content. I told her to stop. She wouldn't listen. Eleanor studied the young woman, shaken, maybe sincere. Did she film? Brianna nodded. I can get the clip. You understand, if you forward that, it becomes evidence? Yes. Minutes later, a video landed in Eleanor's inbox, Tasha tipping the macchiato. Laughing, others snickering, Eva strolling by afterward, expression unreadable. Timestamp 2:08 p.m. Eleanor forwarded it to compliance, and again to Victor. She added one line, pattern of intimidation continues. Request immediate intervention. At Fortin, her phone rang. Victor, she answered in a hushed tone. Yes. I saw the footage, he said, voice low. Thunder, is that the new consultant? Yes. Understood. I'll handle board politics. You stay steady till dinner. And Ellie. Yes. Harold would be proud. Tears pricked. She murmured thanks and ended the call. 4:30, security emailed, we are reviewing footage. Please retain damaged property. 4:45, Eva's assistant summoned Eleanor to the 38th floor executive lounge, an opulent space with leather chairs and skyline views. Eva sat by the window sipping sparkling water. I hear you escalated, Eva began. I reported harassment per policy, Eleanor replied. Policy, yes, yet optics matter. A viral clip could tarnish our brand. It already exists. Best demonstrate accountability. Eva leaned in. Or discretion. Tasha's father is a major liant, owns 3 beverage accounts. Eleanor met her gaze, steady. Then he'll appreciate an honest agency. A muscle ticked in Eva's jaw. You're principled to a fault, Ms. Brooks. Principles aren't faults. Eva waved a hand dismissively. Go prep tomorrow's deliverables. We'll discuss fallout later. Dismissed. Eleanor left, anger boiling but contained. 5:25, she packed, retrieving the cracked photo frame. Glass shards blinked. She placed it carefully in her bag, then shut down the clones her laptop. Outside, the chauffeured town car waited. The driver, Lionel, tipped his cap. Evening, Ms. Brooks. Traffic crawled along, magnificent mile bathed in amber dusk. Eleanor re-entered, breathing. Inhale 4. Hold 2, exhale 6. Harold's trick still worked. Maison de Lis shimmered with chandeliers. Victor occupied a quiet alcove. Navy suit immaculate. He rose, enveloping Eleanor in a gentle hug. Happy birthday to Harold, he said softly. She smiled sadly, producing a slice of tart wrapped in wax paper. For old times. They toasted with elderflower spritz. Then Victor's demeanor hardened. Ellie, the board meets Friday. They don't know about today's incident yet. When I reveal, heads will turn. I don't want the tricks, she said. Justice can be theatrical, he countered, but you set the stage. What outcome do you seek? Eleanor pondered. I want safe culture, accountability, growth, not bloodshed. Victor nodded. Then we craft a measured response. I'll propose an ethics council chaired by you, non-negotiable. She hesitated. Leadership again. I thought retirement beckoned. He smiled. Impact doesn't retire. Dinner flowed, butternut bisque, herb-roasted salmon, shared stories of Harold's academic pranks. Laughter mingled with nostalgia. As dessert arrived, Victor leaned closer. One more thing, Eva Clarence contract is probationary. The board can terminate with cause. If footage shows complicity, she's done. Eleanor nodded. Let's see what security concludes. When the evening ended, Lionel drove her home. She carried leftovers. Biter insisted the lemon tart be replaced by the chef's creme brulee. Inside her condo, she set the cracked photo on the dining table. Under lamplight, she pulled loose the shattered glass, replaced it with a clear pane from a spare frame, and wiped Harold's smiling face. They nearly silenced me today, she told him. But nearly isn't enough. She placed the restored photo back on the mantel, candle flickering beside it. The cardigan slipped from her shoulders. She stroked the midnight blue knit, noticing a faint coffee stain at the cuff, evidence and reminder. At her desk, she opened a blank document titled Coffee, Cream, and Royalty Timeline. She logged every detail from 1:50 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. Cross-referenced messages, inserted screenshots, a forensic tapestry. At 11:10 p.m., an email arrived from security. Footage confirms intentional damage by Tasha Miller. Consultant observed incident and failed to intervene. Preliminary report escalated to her. She exhaled, muscles unlinching. Justice wheels creaked forward. Sleep tugged, but she composed one more note. This time to Brianna, thank you for your courage today. Growth begins with one brave act. AIB. She hit send, shut the laptop, and padded to bed. Outside, the city radiated pearly moonlight. Inside, the quiet hummed with resolve. Tomorrow promised more turbulence. Eva's clause, Tasha's reckoning, the unveiling ethics council. Yet Eleanor felt an undercurrent of power, steady, unflashy, indomitable. Coffee could scald. Cream could stain. Cruelty could cut. But none could erode the steel of principle stitched through every thread of her starlit cardigan. She drifted asleep, imagining Harold applauding from some cosmic lecture hall. Chalk dust swirling, murmuring, "That's my professor." Thursday morning arrived wearing a bruised violet sky, thunder muttering far out on Lake Michigan. The forecast promised only a passing squall, but Eleanor Brooks knew tempests often started as whispers, especially inside corporate walls. She dressed deliberately in a dove-gray cardigan trimmed with delicate white piping. It was softer than yesterday's midnight knit, but the color matched her mood, calm, watchful, ready to absorb whatever darkness tried to stain it. Before leaving the condo, she paused at the mantel, tapped 2 fingers against Harold's photo, and whispered, "Send me patience." The bus ride downtown felt quieter than usual. Commuters scrawled news feeds about a market dip, earbuds buried in them from one another. Eleanor skimmed her email, more audit updates. A 7:45 a.m. meeting request from security, and a short note from Brianna, "Thank you for believing in me." She smiled despite the tension buzzing beneath her ribs. In Hartwell Tower's lobby, the Code of Integrity poster had acquired a companion, a tray-fold table offering free donuts and pamphlets on respect in the workplace. Eleanor eyed the glazed rings and thought of yesterday's coffee fluid, sweet optics, bitter origins. Floor 24 greeted her with thick silence. A neon-orange placard on Tasha Miller's cubicle read, "Equipment seized, Carria under investigation." Her designer headphones dangled like limp jewelry behind crime scenes tape. Employees moved like ghosts, eyes flicking quickly away when they met Eleanor's. She powered on her cloned laptop, noting security's 7:45 invite was in stairwell 3, level 22. Odd place for an official meeting. She grabbed her notebook and took the stairs 2 flights down. The concrete corridor smelled of old dust and lemon polish, faint echoes bouncing in the narrow shaft. Halfway between floors, a silhouette waited. Roland. He leaned against the railing, clipboard in hand. Behind him stood Priya from compliance and Javier, the security guard. "Morning, Ms. Brooks," Priya whispered. "We kept this off calendars to avoid prying eyes." Eleanor nodded. "What's happened?" Javier produced a small evidence bag containing a smashed USB drive, found in a trash bin near consultant Lauren's temporary office at 6 a.m. CCTV shows Tasha dropping it before security badge was deactivated. Roland added, I retrieved it after cleaners reported glitter in the shards. It matched Tasha's phone case. Priya's voice lowered. It recovered fragments, spreadsheets of employee salaries, medical records, and a folder titled Leverage. Tasha didn't have clearance. Someone supplied it. Eleanor's pulse quickened. Eva. Priya nodded grimly. Footage confirms Laurent entering records room last night with master key. She exited carrying a silver flash drive. Eleanor exhaled, astonished by the brazenness. She intended blackmail. Anyone resisting her restructure could be coerced. Exactly, Priya said. We need a statement from you, but formal process can't start until legal reviews chain of custody. Eva still holds authority on this floor. If she senses revolt, she may accelerate firings before we act. Eleanor considered, so you're whispering in stairwells to avoid her net. Roland cracked a faint smile. Whispers travel farther than shouts when halls are bugged. Javier handed Eleanor a temporary visitor keycard. It accesses freight elevators and archives. Places Eva's badge doesn't monitor. Use it carefully. She slipped the card into her cardigan pocket. What do you need from me? Priya replied, hold the line until tomorrow's board meeting. If Eva crosses another boundary, capture proof. We'll synchronize final evidence drop before Victor addresses the board. Eleanor nodded. Understood. Thunder rumbled overhead, nature's drumroll. The covert trio dispersed, Roland up, Javier down, Priya into a side door. Eleanor climbed back to 24 with a new, clandestine purpose humming beneath her calm exterior. At 8:05 a.m., Eva swept onto the floor, cream blazer traded for onyx pantsuit. Heels sharper, stride harder, she called, briefing in 10 gather by the bullpen. Employees obeyed, magnetized by fear. Eleanor took her place near the back. Eva's gaze traveled the semi-aisle like a lighthouse of scrutiny. Updates, Eva announced. Tasha Miller is suspended pending final review. The footage leaked online. Thanks to an anonymous source, she flanked a brow toward Eleanor. Our reputation trembles when inside matters become public spectacle. On screen behind her flashed a gossip site headline, marketing intern dumps coffee on elder colleague, Yo's brother reacts. Over 50 views. Gasps rippled. Many looked at Eleanor with a new mixture of sympathy and fear. Eva clicked to the next slide, a chart with red arrows downward. Client sentiment slipped 2 points overnight. Damage controlled, but more missteps will cost jobs. Effective immediately. Social media usage on company devices is prohibited. Violators face termination. Eyes widened, phones slid into drawers like contraband. She continued, our deliverables acceleration stands. I expect 120 output metrics by end of quarter. Murmurs rose. Eva cut them off. Excuses will be seen as resistance. Meeting adjourned, she strode away. Eleanor caught a subtle tremble in a junior analyst's hands. Fear fed productivity, Eva's gamble. Back at her desk, Eleanor opened Slack. A new private channel invitation popped from Laurent's leadership, mandatory. She clicked. Eva had posted a survey asking employees to rank colleagues on adaptability and legacy value. Anonymity promised, though Eleanor doubted it. Brianna messaged privately, this feels wrong. Eleanor replied, trust instincts. Do not participate yet. At 9:30, Eva summoned Eleanor to her office again. The skyline behind Eva looked bruised by storm clouds. Close the door, Eva ordered. Eleanor complied. Eva laced fingers. I had high hopes for collaboration, but you escalate situations that should die peacefully. First Garrett, now Tasha. Eleanor sat quietly. Eva resumed, you value principles. I value performance. Both can coexist if we establish boundaries. Eleanor spoke, voice steady. Boundaries should protect, not threaten. Eva leaned forward. Let's be candid. You hold influence via Victor Pierce. Convince him the restructure benefits the company, and I'll appoint you senior advisor. Half-time hours, full pension, no direct reports. Comfortable glide path into retirement. A bribe, sick wrapped, but still a bribe. Eleanor answered, tempting, but I'm not for sale. She rose, and Mr. Pierce values ethics above comfort. Eva's eyes hardened. Be careful. Martyrs rarely enjoy the world they save. Eleanor met the glare. Heroes don't act for enjoyment. She opened the door and left. Her heart pounded as she returned to her cubicle. She typed a quick recollection of the conversation, encrypted, and sent it to Priya. Lightning flashed outside, thunder following like a slammed gavel. At 10:15, emails lit up, mandatory check-ins, Claurenchon Tukwon. Time slots impossibly overlapped. Chaos ensured, classic pressure tactic. Brianna appeared pale. Eva scheduled me for 2 meetings at once. What do I do? Choose the one aligning with your real duties, Eleanor advised. Document the conflict. If questioned, present evidence. Brianna nodded, spine straighter. 10:40, Roland strolled by, pushing trash barrel. He slipped a folded note onto Eleanor's desk. Eyes forward, she unfolded it. Server room 12:0, urgent. No signature, but ink smelled faintly of jasmine, Priya's perfume. She planned the timing. Server room on 20th floor, sat near refrigeration units. Foot traffic light. She printed a network architecture map to disguise her visit. Noon approached. She grabbed a salad box, tucked the map inside, and headed to elevator bank. On 20, she stepped into the chilled corridor. The server room door clicked as her visitor card unlocked it. Inside, fans whooshed, LED lights blinking like city nightlife. Priya emerged behind a rack. I pulled more logs, Priya said over the hum. Eva's badge accessed personnel files at 11:0 p.m. She viewed medical records, your hypertension note, Roland's mother's hospital debt, Brianna's therapy sessions. She's building pressure points. Eleanor's stomach nodded. We need to cut her badge. Legal wants ironclad cause, Priya replied. We get that, she's gone. For now, keep calm. The door opened suddenly. Brianna stepped in, eyes wide. Scory, Roland said you were here. She closed quickly behind her. Eva just cornered me. She threatened to expose my therapy documents if I don't testify that you manipulated Garrett. Tears welled. Eleanor's heart clenched. She placed a hand on Brianna's shoulder. You are safe with us. Priya nodded. I'll add witness intimidation to the file. Brianna breathed shackily. I recorded her on my phone. I was scared but hit audio. She produced the device. Priya's eyes glowed. That may be our ironclad cause. They huddled near the routers, listening. Eva's voice crackled through the speaker. Help me frame Eleanor and your past stays buried. Otherwise I release every note your psychiatrist filed. The threat sounded colder than the server air. Eleanor felt a surge of protective rage. We'll end this, she vowed. Priya copied the file. We'll mirror storage off-site in case she purges systems. She handed Brianna a visitor card like Eleanor's. Freight lifts only. Minimize desk time. Plan set. They exited separately. Back on 24, the atmosphere had shifted again. Nervous energy crackled. Eva's assistant marched cubicle to cubicle collecting the survey forms despite their 24-hour window. People surrendered half-filled pages. When he reached Eleanor, she handed him a blank sheet. I'll complete after I vet criteria. Ms. Lauren expects immediate compliance, he said. I expect transparency first. She slid the sheet back, steady gaze daring him. He retreated. Shortly after, Eva's Outlook invite popped. Performance compliance meeting 30 p.m. Her legal threat escalate. Thunder boomed, rattling windows. Rain battered glass like pebbles. Eleanor typed notes. Kept her breathing steady. 2:15, Roland passed by again, expression tense. He whispered, Eva prowling for scapegoats. Be ready. 2:50, Eleanor gathered documentation, invoice fraud trail, coffee vandalism report, audio file transcript. Server logs. She dressed her cardigan straight, inhaled. Conference room Atlas was cavernous, lights dimmed against lightning outside. Around the oval table sat Eva, her director Marina Parks, and legal counsel David Ng. A voice recorder rested at center. Eva began, Ms. Brooks, concerns have arisen about hostile behavior, insubordination, and breaches of confidentiality. Will record for accuracy. Eleanor nodded. Recording protects us all. Eva's eyebrow ticked. First, multiple employees report coercion by you to fabricate charges against management. She slid a paper anonymous statement, clearly cost-written. Marina asked, how do you respond? Eleanor calmly placed her evidence usab on the table. I respond with fax audio of Ms. Lauren blackmailing Ms. Cole, server log showing her unauthorized file access, and CCTV of her ignoring workplace harassment. Eva's face blanched but remained composed. David reached for the usab. Will verify. Eleanor continued, additionally, survey data collection violates state employee privacy statute 48. She laid a printout of the law. Eva shot Marina a look. Her director swallowed. David inserted the USB into his laptop, headphones on, silence stretched. Rain hammered roof. After 2 minutes he removed headphones. Marina, pause recording. Tape clicked off. David's voice lowered. What I heard constitutes intimidation and HIPAA violations. We suspend Ms. Lauren pending full investigation. Eva bolted upright. You can't. David raised a hand. Board Policy 6. 2 grants legal authority when patient privacy is breached. Marina stood. Eva, surrender badge effective immediately. Eva's nostrils flared. She scanned the room, eyes finally resting on Eleanor with bitter admiration. Well played. She removed badge, slammed it on table. Storm outside roared, mirroring the fury in her veins. Security entered, Javier and another guard. They escorted Eva out, her heels striking an uneven rhythm of defiance. Eleanor exhaled slowly. Marina turned to her. Thank you, Ms. Brooks. We'll notify the board. Until further notice, you are acting director of finance. Eleanor blinked. I sapped temporarily. David nodded. Your ethics proposal Carter initiative. The board fast-tracks it tomorrow. Gratitude and disbelief swirled. Let's fix the fractures, she said. Meeting adjourned 3:40 p.m. The hallway watched Eva's exit, employees cransing necks over cubicle walls. Whispers gusted like wind and wheat. Some eyes held relief, others trepidation. A few simmered with malice yet unmet. Brianna emerged, hope flickering. Eleanor gave a subtle nod. Battle won, war ongoing. Roland saluted with his mop handle. At 4:05 Deborah returned from an offside call. I heard, she said. Approaching Eleanor's desk, board wants you in tomorrow's 10 a.m. session. They'll ratify your task force. Nicely maneuvered. It was teamwork, Eleanor corrected, glancing at Brianna and Roland. Deborah's expression softened. Leadership is weaving quiet threads into strong rope. You've done that. Rain eased into drizzle. Twilight bled orange between clouds. Eleanor drafted an call staff note. I'm stepping into acting director role. Let's realign on integrity and collaboration. I'll host an open forum tomorrow 2 p.m. She hit send. Ping responses trickled, thumbs ups, thank yous, spark emojis, small signals of culture healing. At 5 p.m. Victor texted her Eva's exit. Board support locked. Proud, she replied, couldn't wait for tomorrow. As employees filed out, Brianna approached. Ms. Brooks, what if backlash targets me? Eleanor placed a gentle hand on her arm. Truth shields longer than silence. You have allies now. Brianna smiled, tears glistening. You're like office grandma Avenger. Eleanor chuckled. I'll take it. Roland arrived with a small gift bag. Found this on curb earlier, thought you could use. Inside lay a fresh photo frame Coke with silver inlay. Back up, he said. Her throat tightened. Thank you, Roland. By 5:45 the floor dimmed to night lighting. Eleanor shut down her laptop, zipped her satchel, and walked toward stairwell 3, the same whispering place of mourning. She descended to 22, paused, listening only the steady drip of stormwater somewhere deep in the building's bones. She whispered into the echo, Harold, I did what you taught, beneath the noise. Find the motive. When moaned through ventilation, a reply only she could interpret, she smiled. Outside, Chicago's streets glistened, reflecting neon. She opened her umbrella, soft gray to match her cardigan, and stepped into the damp evening. The thunder had retreated eastward, whispering now instead of shouting, as if humbled. Tomorrow awaited boardrooms, apologies, new charters, but tonight, Eleanor allowed herself a private victory lap. Strolling past shop windows where mannequins wore suits no smarter than the one she had just defeated. She stopped at a florist still open, bought a single white lily for Harold, and tucked it inside her tote. As she walked on, she noticed her reflection in a rain-puddled sidewalk, cardigan unblemished, shoulders squared, eyes bright with resilience. Whispers in stairwells had exposed the tempest, and the woman long dismissed as relic now commanded the narrative, one concrete step at a time. Friday dawned in crystalline clarity, as though the previous day's storm had scrubbed Chicago's sky with steel wool and left it polished, blue, and resolute. Eleanor Brooks awoke before first light to the hum of possibility. Today everything she'd fought for, trust, accountability, and the delicate dignity of the quiet worker, would face the ultimate test, the boardroom. She brewed Darjeeling, its haunted aroma curling like encouragement, and spread spreadsheets across her oak kitchen table. Each sheet was a chapter in what she privately titled The Ledger of Lies, Fraudulent Invoices, VIN logs, blackmail audio, manipulation surveys, and a timeline of harassment compiled over 10 harrowing days. She tapped the binder's spine, inhaled, and murmured, let's balance the books. Unlike her usual cardigans, she chose a tailored charcoal blazer Harold had gifted her on their 30th anniversary. It draped elegantly, silver buttons catching light. Beneath, she wore a soft pale blue blouse that matched her eyes. The cardigan she folded and placed inside her toque, armor of comfort for later. Pearls at her ears, wedding band glinting, she looked every inch the interim executive the board expected to see. And still, holy Eleanor. The bus ride glittered with morning sun flashing off skyscraper glass. Commuters scrawled headlines: consultant suspended in corporate harassment scandal, ethics shakeup at Hartwell Pierce Media. Billionaire Victor Pierce to address board today. Eleanor caught her reflection in the window, but pulse fluttering, and practiced square breathing. In 4, hold out 6 again. Hartwell Towers lobby buzzed like a wasp nest, the usual veneer of confidence cracked by rumors of abrupt leadership shifts. Security staff, stone-faced, waved her through metal detectors her new badge. Hot off the lamination press read acting director finance. Up on 30, the executive floor smelled of leather and orchids. A sleek wall screen displayed the day's agenda: 10:00 a.m. Special board session, presenter list topped by E. Brooks. Beneath, in scarlet letters: closed door, no phones. Deborah Wong materialized, clipboard tucked under her arm. Morning, Eleanor. Nerves? Purpose, Eleanor replied, lifting her binder. Good. David from legal wants 5 minutes pre-session. They stepped into a glass-walled anteroom where David, in trim and dove gray suit, greeted them. We've scrubbed the evidence bulletproof, but remember, boards love narratives. Don't bury them in decimals, paint motive, then reveal impact. Eleanor smiled, the same way Harold lured freshmen into loving economics. David's eyes twinkled. Exactly. We start with emotion, end with data. Victor will amplify final haltation. You ready? As I'll ever be. At 9:55 they queued outside the mahogany double doors. Inside, Eleanor heard chair legs scrape. Hushed greetings, the soft clink of porcelain cups. Victor arrived, navy suit, silver hair tamed, calm as a seasoned conductor before symphony. He squeezed her shoulder. They underestimate quiet intellect, our secret weapon. She quirked a smile. Not so secret anymore. The boardroom opened, a long oval table under a chandelier of suspended crystal shards. Like frozen rain mid-fall, 13 directors settled in, 8 men, 5 women. Some seasoned, some new, all with pens poised. Eleanor and Victor took seats at the head. David adjacent, the CFO, freshly humbled, sat lower down. An empty chair marked Eva's absence. Another, Garrett's. Chairwoman Margaret Singh called meeting to order. Petite but formidable, her voice carried authority. Item 1, investigation findings. Ms. Brooks, you have the floor. Lights dimmed, projector flickered alive. Slide 1, a photograph of Eleanor's coffee-drenched keyboard. Cracked photo frame beside it. Gasps murmured. She spoke. This is where our story begins, not with capital ratios, but with a culture allowing intimidation to fester. A single act visible only because a courageous intern pressed record. Slide 2, the viral clip. The board watched Tasha's cruelty, Eva's indifference, Eleanor's quiet composure. Emotions rippled. A director shook his head. Harassment costs us in talent, reputation, and dollars, Eleanor continued, but symptoms point to deeper disease. She advanced to color-coded hearts, fraudulent invoice pattern, misappropriated funds funneled through vendor lull seving. 48,000 is the figure today, extrapolated over quarters, potential loss reaches 600,000, funds that should have fueled strategy, not greed. She clicked again. Timeline of Eva's blackmail scheme, audio waveform displayed with transcript snippet. The word leverage glowed red. Audible gasps. A director muttered, criminal exposure. Eleanor paused, letting silence underscore gravity. Then she shifted tone. Yet numbers alone don't break us. Silence does. When culture discourages speaking up, we bleed talent and capital. She detailed Brianna's role, Roland's vigilance, Priya's diligence, naming them as everyday guardians. A slide displayed anonymized survey results from Eva's coercion quiz, fear rated 8, 17. Finally, she landed on the Ledger of Lies workbook, tab rebuild. We propose the Carter Initiative, an independent ethics council, anonymous reporting platform, quarterly culture audits, mental health stipends, and leadership training. Estimated cost 1/10 what fraud drained in 6 months. ROI retention, client trust, and brand equity. She closed her binder, met each director's gaze. Integrity isn't an expense. It's our most lucrative investment. Chairwoman Singh folded her hands. Thank you, Ms. Brooks, Mr. Pierce. Victor rose, voice velvet iron. I've invested billions across industries. Patterns appear when numbers eclipse humanity. Margins erode. Eleanor's plan safeguards both. I pledge personal endowment to match company funding for the first year, provided the board adopts unanimously. He sat. Murmurs circled. Margaret called for questions. A gray-templed director asked about legal liabilities. David answered, citing case law. Another worried about optics. Deborah spoke. Noting social media sentiment rebounded once transparency posts went live. Discussion turned to leadership. CFO proposed promoting Eleanor permanently. She interjected, "My goal is systems, not titles. I'll accept until transition stabilizes, then groom a successor." Her humility fortified credibility. At 11:12 a.m., Chairwoman Singh requested vote. Hands rose unanimous. Givals don't exist in modern boardrooms, but the resolution felt as decisive. Carter initiative adopted. Eleanor confirmed as Senior Vice President of Ethics Finance. Eva's contract terminated with cause. Garrett and Carlo referred to authorities. Apleko Square in such rooms ballooned. Eleanor exhaled, shoulders lowering. Victor winked, pride luminous. Meeting adjourned, but Margaret detained Eleanor. "I underestimated the Cardigan Brigade," she joked, then grew serious. "We'd like your input on board diversity." Many voices still missing. Eleanor nodded. Future battles. She exited into the executive corridor, binder clutched like a victorious flag. Deborah, Priya, Roland, and Brianna waited near a window. Eleanor lifted her thumb in silent triumph. They erupted in quiet cheers, Grub Hut energy tempered for corporate decorum. "Lunch on me," Deborah declared. First, Eleanor needed air. She rode the elevator to the rooftop garden, a seldom visited terrace ringed with planters of rosemary and dwarf pines. Wind whipped her hair. The city sprawled in noon brightness. She closed her eyes, tasted the sunlight, and let triumph settle. Footsteps approached. "Brianna, Ms. Brooks, Eleanor, I wanted to see the view you always talk about." Eleanor smiled, gesturing across the skyline. "Each building holds stories. Ours just changed." Brianna's eyes shimmered. "Thank you for saving mine." They stood in comfortable silence until Brianna left for lunch. Eleanor phoned Marcus, the doorman, asking him to send up a bouquet to Roland's mother's hospital. A small thank you billed to her personal card. She returned to 24 in time for the noon staff huddle. Instead of Eva's punitive stand-ups, Eleanor opened with acknowledgement. "We lost sight of each other. Let's rebuild together." She outlined Carter initiative highlights, invited volunteers. Hand shot up. Patty thawing. After, she met with her to draft formal apologies to affected staff. Then with it to spec the anonymous reporting platform. The afternoon raced by. At 2:00, her open forum packed the break room. Analysts, interns, janitors, even Javier. They voiced fears, shared ideas, mentorship pairings, flexible hours, mental health workshops. She took notes, promised follow-through. Near 3, a courier delivered an embossed envelope from Maison Delise. Inside, a note from the chef, Madame Brooks. "Word travels fast. Your victory tart awaits." A lemon confection delicately boxed. She laughed. Placed it on the kitchen counter with a sign, "Celebrate integrity. Please share." Brianna snapped a respectful photo for the company Slack. Likes flooded. At 4:00, Priya emailed final her letters for Eleanor's signature. She scanned legal jargon. Adjusted tone to warmth, signed digitally. Her title autofilled beneath. Scurrial. Roland appeared carrying a polished wooden box. "Found this in storage C. Figured you'd appreciate." Inside lay ledger books from the company's founding in 1979, handwritten, ink fading. Before spreadsheets, there was calligraphy. Roland said, eyes twinkling. Eleanor ran fingers over the pages. Neat columns of debit and credit. Balanced every night. They honored truth with pen strokes. She murmured. Inspiration sparked. "Let's display these in the lobby." Reminder of roots. Roland grinned. Promised to coordinate. As shadows lengthened, employees drifted out, many pausing to thank her. Some left post-its. "Hope restored. You make us proud. Cardigans rock." She tucked each note into her binder. At 5:30 p.m., the floor quiet, she finally donned her dove gray cardigan. Savoring its soft weight, she looked around, the monitors dark, plants basking in late sun. Peace at least for today. Her phone buzzed. Victor, drinks at Lakeshore Club, the foe's buying. She chuckled. "Rain check. I need to bring a lily to Harold." Victor's voice softened. "He's applauding louder than anyone." She ended call, gathered belongings, and rode elevator to lobby where Code of Integrity posters now flanked the vintage ledgers Roland had already arranged in a display case. Visitors paused, curiosity piqued. Outside, the air smelled of lilacs and bus exhaust. She strolled to Grant Park, lily in hand, stopping at the quiet memorial bench she and Harold had frequented. She laid a bloom, traced their initials carved in the wood, and whispered, "Ledger balanced, my love." On her way home, she bought 2 more lilies, one for Brianna, one for Roland's mother, small ripples of kindness to widen the wave. Back in her condo, twilight spilled rose gold across hardwood floors. She placed a fresh frame Roland's gift on the mantel, sliding Harold's photo inside. Next to it, she set a tiny brass ale, left dish empty, right one filled with a single pearl, balanced perfectly. She brewed chamomile, opened her laptop, and typed the inaugural message to the future Ethics Council. The Ledger of Lies is closed. Our new chapter begins, the Ledger of Light. She listed preliminary goals. Saved the file. As stars pricked the sky, Eleanor curled in her reading chair. Cardigan wrapped snug. Outside, the city hummed. Inside, peace draped over her shoulders like the softest knit. Tomorrow would bring fresh challenges, pulley rollouts, press briefings, maybe lingering resentment, but she felt ready. She had turned whispers into roars, leveraged spreadsheets into shields, transformed a humble cardigan into a banner of quiet power. She closed her eyes, hearing Harold's playful applause in her mind. "Professor," he would say, "you just taught them the most important equation: integrity, fear." Eleanor smiled into the night, knowing the Ledger of Lies had not merely been balanced, it had been rewritten, line by principled line in indelible ink. The boardroom victory felt like a sunrise, but by dawn's second light Friday mutated into a different beast, a storm that refused to read yesterday's script. 6:12 a.m. Rain hammered Eleanor Brooks' window like frantic Morse code. She opened the curtains to a sky the color of wet slate. Lightning etched jagged scars across Lake Michigan, thunder rolling seconds later. She dressed in muted lavender cardigan and pearl drop earrings, an homage to serenity, yet the air crackled with static, foreshadowing turbulence still to come. Her phone chimed 37 unread messages. Overnight, a whistleblower account on X, formerly Twitter, posted leaked excerpts from company emails, snippets of Eva's blackmail and Garrett's fraud, but twisted the narrative, claiming Hartwell Pierce had orchestrated a cover-up with Eleanor as figurehead. #Cardigan cover-up trended by sunrise. Marcus, the doorman, handed her the newspaper. Eleanor on front page, headline bold: quiet accountant or corporate assassin? She sighed, tucked it under her arm, and hurried to the bus through wind-whipped rain. 7:05 a.m. Security lines at Hartwell Tower resembled airport chaos. Reporters clustered outside, microphones aloft. Javier ushered her through a side entrance. "Trending trolls think you're orchestrating layoffs for Pierce," he warned. "We doubled lobby guards." 7:17 a.m. Crisis briefing. Executive floor conference room filled with anxious faces. Chairwoman Singh via video. Deborah, legal, per Chief Melinda Cruz, and a bleary-eyed head. Monitors displayed the #storm memes of Eleanor in a supervillain cape. TikTok edits of coffee revenge scenes. Melinda spoke first. Narrative flipped overnight. "We need counter-messaging before markets open." Eleanor remained calm. "Facts haven't changed. Present them." "True," Melinda said, "but facts are battling dopamine. We require story. Authenticity. People don't know you." Deborah added, "What if we film a live town hall this afternoon? Stream it company-wide and public via LinkedIn." Margaret Singh nodded on screen. "Do it, Eleanor. Are you willing to be the face?" "I don't seek spotlight," she said, then remembered Harold's lecture, "Silence empowers rumor. But transparency demands voice." "I'll speak." I to him. Floor 24 buzzed louder than the storm outside. Some employees scrawled feeds. Faces pale, others whispered conspiracies. Brianna hurried over. "Tasha's friends are spinning lies on TikTok, saying you forged evidence." "Truth stands," Eleanor assured, but her stomach tightened. She convened a quick stand-up. "Team, online chatter is loud but not lasting if we remain factual. Focus on deliverables. We'll address questions at 2 p.m. Town hall." Nervous nods followed. 8:45 a.m. At outage. Suddenly monitors flickered, Slack disconnected. The entire finance network went dark. A chief burst into DOS attack on our VThin. External apps pinging thousands of requests, likely botnet hired through dark web. Sabotage. Eleanor suspected Garrett's allies, maybe Eva calling in favors. She asked. Estimated recovery: 4 hours if we isolate nodes, unless attack escalates. "We don't have 4. Payroll batch needs submission by noon. Recommend we switch to on-prem backup." Eleanor recalled the vintage ledger books Roland had unearthed. "Let's blend old and new," she proposed. Manual entry for critical payments, encrypted thumb drives couriered to the bank. It balked but agreed. Deborah authorized emergency protocol. Roland fetched blank greenbar paper from storage. Analysts gathered like wartime codebreakers in a candlelit bunker, calmly fluorescents and battery lanterns this time. 10 a.m. While staff scribbled figures, Eleanor met Priya and legal. They'd traced the leak to a single unsecured mail created 2 nights ago on Hartwell's guest Wi-Fi MUT address linked to Carla Davenport's old laptop, which security missed collecting. Warrant underway. Eleanor exhaled. Lock social channels. Preserve chain of evidence. 11:00 a.m. Power flickered. Thunder booming rain pummeled windows like gravel. Pure Chief handed Eleanor a rough script for the town hall. She scanned, crossed out buzzwords. Authenticity, she said. Let's present raw timeline. Apology to staff. Invitation for questions. No spin. While printers jammed due to humidity, Roland appeared with spare fans. Saving the day again. Eleanor thanked him with a warm hand squeeze. 11:54 a.m. Manual payroll list finalized. Used minutes before bank cutoff. Deborah personally escorted the thumb drive downstairs through rain to the armored courier van. Crisis half evaded. 12:15 p.m. Cafeteria served emergency chili. Analysts ate quickly, eyes glued to phones. Refreshing connections. Wi-Fi partially restored. DOA still raging outside, firewall like roaring surf. Eleanor found a quiet corner, texted Victor digital assault but moral compass steady. Town Hall 2 p.m. He replied with a gif of a sturdy lighthouse. 1:30 p.m. Setup. The atrium transformed into a mini studio. 2 cameras, clav mic. Backdrop of city skyline through glass wall streaked with rain. Rows of folding chairs awaited employees. A live stream link queued for public. Heartbeats syncopated with hammering rain as 2 p.m. loomed. Brianna adjusted Eleanor's lapel mic. You've got this. Eleanor smiled. We've got this. 2:00 p.m. Town hall begins. Lidstream counter soared. 5080 12:0 viewers, many external. Deborah opened. In recent days we faced troubling revelations and online rumors. Today we choose openness. I present Eleanor Brooks. Eleanor stepped forward, spotlight bright, heartbeat louder. She inhaled, conjured Harold's steady baritone. Speak softly, think deeply. Good afternoon, she began. I'm an accountant, grandmother, and believer that numbers tell stories if we listen. She recounted coffee incident, subsequent fraud, the board's unanimous ethics vote. She admitted companies' past complacency, apologized to staff, thanked whistleblowers, slides displayed hard evidence, timestamps scrawled. Then she addressed the hashtag Cardigan cover-up suggests I hide deceit beneath knitwear. Cardigans aren't armor, they're comfort. Integrity is the real shield, and it cloaks every honest employee here. Questions flooded chat. Was Eva framed? Or layoffs planned? Eleanor answered plainly, no framing. No layoffs, instead, investment in wellness and oversight. She invited Brianna to share her perspective. The young woman described intimidation and relief at being heard. Tears glistened. Viewers reacted. Empathy emojis outpaced cynicism. Hashtag Cardigan cover-up morphed to Cardigan courage within the hour. 3:07 p.m. Town hall ended with applause echoing off glass walls. Thunder finally subsiding outside as if weather itself held breath. Melinda reported sentiment swing. Positive mentions now 62. Stock ticked up 2 points. 3:20 p.m. Carla's arrest. News alert flashed. Former controller Davenport detained at O'Hare attempting to board flight to Zurich with encrypted laptop and $75.00 in gift cards. Chat exploded. Proof of malicious leak. Eleanor felt storm clouds lift another notch. She gathered leftover chili bread bowls for late working its staff. A small bomb. 4:00 p.m. A chief declared network secure. Attack traced to rented server farm in Belarus. Payment ties back to Garrett's frozen offshore account. Legal prepared extradition angle. 4:30 p.m. Payroll confirmed by bank. Employees cheered across cubicles. Priya arrived with printout formal Doge interest in Eva's blackmail logs. Justice wheels spinning, she said. Eleanor finally allowed herself a chair collapse. Her cardigan smelled of stress and lavender detergent. She closed eyes, hearing only rain's gentle taper. 5:00 p.m. Debrief. Conference room small. Eleanor, Deborah, Melinda, Priya. They documented lessons. 1 multi-fader VTIN. 2 media rapid response squad. 3 mental health stipend accelerated to May rollout. Melinda presented final social metrics. Cardigan courage trending positive. Memes of Eleanor as shield bearing heroin replacing villain cape. One gif showed her cardigan transforming into Superman cape. She chuckled. 5:45 p.m. Employees trickled out, laughter returning. Roland offered Eleanor a steaming mug, hot chocolate laced with cinnamon. Weather's calming, he said. Inside and out, she replied. She strolled past cubicles, lamp glow warm. A post-it on her monitor read, "Storms make trees root deeper." "Thank you, Eb. I finance team." She pressed it into her binder. 6:10 p.m. Elevator descent smooth. Lobby calm. Code of integrity banner now flanked by a live feed counter showing 87 anonymous compliments filed through the new beta portal. Positivity tracking as cultural barometer. Reporters still outside but less aggressive. One asked, "What's next for Hartwell Pierce?" Eleanor paused under awning. "Rain reduced to mist. Growth rooted in ethics." She answered and kept walking. 6:35 p.m. Hyde Park streets glistened. She detoured to the community garden, pruning shears borrowed from shed. Clipped fresh sage for Marcus's wife who loved cooking, even after cyclones of corporate intrigue. Small kindnesses grounded her. 7:05 p.m. Home, slippers, cardigan swapped for fleece robe. She reheated leftover lemon tart slice. Turned on jazz Benno, Coltrane's Naima. Thunder distant now, like applause from the horizon. Laptop pinged email from chairwoman Saint. Subject official. Body sec filing submitted. Carter initiative disclosed as material positive factor. Also, invitation to join Corporate Resilience Council under the governor's office. Consider. Eleanor smiled. Shut. Laptop decisions could wait. She sank into couch, tart sweet on tongue, candle flickering. Outside, the city exhaled steam like a giant tea kettle cooling after boil. She whispered to the quiet, "Storm called Friday, you roared, we endured, we grew." Then she imagined Harold's gentle laugh. "Professor, you turned tempest into textbook." Rain ceased as single star-pierced clouds, winking over the lake, promise of calmer chapters yet unwritten. Monday morning rose soft and rose gold, a gentle hush after so many crashing cymbals. Chicago's skyline shimmered like freshly polished silverware as sunlight bounced off glass facades. Inside her Hyde Park condo, Eleanor Brooks clasped a simple strand of pearls around her neck. 8mm Akoya's Harold had surprised her with on their first anniversary. They had survived recessions, relocations, and grief. Today, they would frame a new beginning. She faced the mirror. No cardigan yet. First the pearls, then the blazer, then a cream-colored knit folded over her arm, ready for later. She brushed a fingertip along each bead, repeating Harold's teasing mantra, "Pressure makes gems. Time makes them glow." They felt cool, reassuring. She inhaled purpose and exhaled doubt. A quick text from Victor flashed. "Governor's office wants an answer on the Resilience Council. Call when free." She tucked the phone into her satchel, grabbed a container of home-baked cranberry scones for the office, and stepped into a morning that smelled of dew and possibility. 7:02 a.m. The bus rolled over still wet pavement, tires hissing, across the aisle. A 20-something scrawled cardigan courage threads. Some posts were heartfelt testaments to standing up to bullies. Others were memes. Eleanor's cardigan J morphed into a battleship. She smiled. Storylines grew wings outside one's control. But if wings carried hope, let them soar. Marcus greeted her with a two-finger salute. "Saw you on Channel 9. Mama thinks you're stealing cashmere." "Tell Mama the pearls are mightier than the sword," Eleanor joked, passing him a scone wrapped in wax paper. 7:25 a.m. Hartwell Towers lobby buzzed, but the energy felt different, nervous excitement rather than dread. The vintage ledger display Roland had curated now featured a placard, "Accuracy is integrity made visible, 1979. Visitors paused, snapped photos. Nearby, a talkstream kiosk invited employees to submit ideas for the Carter Initiative. Suggestions already filled the queue. Free coding bootcamps, parents upward chat, monthly gratitude wall. On floor 24, rows of desks gleamed under newly installed daylight Mimi bulbs, replacing the harsh fluorescence Eva had favored. Maintenance had painted the accent wall sage green over the weekend. The color felt like a deep breath. Eleanor placed the scones in the kitchenette with a note, "Pressure creates pearls. Enjoy the sweetness after." Within minutes, crumbs evidenced popularity. 8:00 a.m. A Ethics Council kickoff. Conference room Aurora filled with 20 hand-picked volunteers, diverse in age, department, pay grade. Priya chaired compliance representation. Roland sat proudly in facilities seat. Brianna represented junior staff. Javier, the security guard, brought frontline perspective. Deborah observed in strategic capacity. Eleanor, pearls catching morning light, opened the meeting. "Thank you for stepping forward," she began. "Pearls form when oysters layer nair around an irritant. We've had our irritant. Now, let's coat it with wisdom until it becomes something beautiful." Smiles and nods circled the table. She outlined the council's first 90-day sprint. 1. Anonymous portal launch. 2 mental health stipend policy. 3 biweekly culture pulse survey. 4 listening tour. 3 lunches where execs sit silent while staff speak. She assigned leads, set timelines, and asked every member to wear a single pearl pin. The would arrive tomorrow as a quiet visual pledge. No flashy lanyards, no forced slogans, just small luminescent dots of accountability. Roland raised a hand. I've got an idea. Quarterly walk-a floor. Execs pair with facilities overnight to see what buildings say after people leave. Trash tells truths. The room chuckled, but Priya captured the note. Eleanor loved it. Meeting adjourned 9:07 a.m. As volunteers left, Brianna lingered. Ms. Brooks wearing pearls? Will some think it's elitist? Maybe, Eleanor answered, until they know the story. Pearls aren't mined. They're made by resilience. That story belongs to anyone who's endured pressure. Brianna touched her own neck self-consciously. I'll thrift a strand. Better, Eleanor said. Make one from beads at the craft store. String your own resilience. 9:30 a.m. Operation Sync. The foe's virtual boxes filled the video grid. They reviewed quarter forecasts, factoring savings from halted fraud and potential press goodwill. Eleanor highlighted intangible assets. Employee trust reduces turnover, which saves training costs. She backed it with figures, then added a pearl metric and new key tracking ethical climate. Cynics raised eyebrows. She countered with Harvard Business Review citations. Meeting concluded with agreement to test. 10:45 a.m. A governor's call. Victor patched in from his lakefront study. On split screen, Governor Eleanor Morales offered warm congratulations. Illinois wants your expertise on public-private resilience. Think cyber readiness, ethics, workforce well-being. Eleanor worried about bandwidth. I won't accept if it shortchanges my duties here. Governor Morales smiled. Council meets quarterly. Your voice ensures we protect workers as fiercely as we protect data. Eleanor nodded slowly. Then yes, on a quarterly stipend donated to scholarship fund. Victor beamed. Call ended. 11:15 a.m. Back on the floor, she noticed an awkward hush. 2 older male managers staring at a meme on phone. Snickering, she approached. Share the humor. They fumbled. The meme depicted diversity meeting from last year with snarky caption about pearl others. She said, let's remember humor shouldn't punch down. Delete it. Join us tomorrow at the listening lunch. They flushed, nodded. Power and pearls meant calmly redirecting rather than scolding. No and lunch learn. First of the listening sessions, Eleanor invited a dozen women from entry roles to exec lounge. Instead of lecturing, she placed a talking stick, a smooth river stone, at center. Whoever held it could speak uninterrupted. Stories poured. Microaggressions about hair, maternity leave, guilt, speaking credit stolen. They brainstormed solutions. Eleanor took notes. Tears and laughter mingled. The stone traveled like relay baton, building momentum of shared truth. 1:30 p.m. Per shot. New staff photos for updated website. Eleanor posed. No blazer, just cardigan and pearls, arms loosely folded, smile gentle yet unyielding. Photographer showed her preview. Your eyes look content, he said. I finally believe the numbers will add up, she replied. 2:00 p.m. A demo. Beta version of anonymous portal projected onto big screen. Interface clean. Voice your pearl header. Each submission visualized as luminescent orb floating in lagoon graphic. Click to see issue categories: harassment, fraud, well-being, appreciation. Eleanor clicked test entry facilities. Hero fixed dangerous wiring quietly. Orb glowed green, representing positive recognition. It led explained encryption layers. Priya verified compliance alignment. Launch date set for next Monday. 3:00 p.m. To unexpected visitor. Reception pinged. Tasha Miller here for brief appointment. Cleared by legal. Eleanor's pulse quickened. She met Tasha in small meeting room. Priya present. Tasha, eyes swollen. Produced envelope. Settlement papers, she said quietly. I'm here to apologize. Voice cracked. Internet hates me. I deserve it. Therapy starts tomorrow. I brought these. She revealed strand of freshwater pearls still in box. They were my grandmother's. I wore them at graduation before. Arrogance. Eleanor softened. I can't accept your heirloom. Tasha insisted, tears falling. Please, if you wear them once, maybe the world sees I'm not beyond forgiveness. Eleanor contemplated, then clasped the pearls around Tasha's own neck. You wear them when you volunteer with the company's new literacy outreach, if you choose that path. Tasha wept harder, nodding. Priya recorded apology. Legalities done. 4:00 p.m. Her emailed council membership invites to entire company. Pearl pin image attached. Slack exploded with pearl emojis. Brianna posted photo of craft beads strung on dental floss, prototype of perseverance. Likes skyrocketed. 4:45 p.m. Deborah stroll. Deborah and Eleanor paced corridor. Morale spike noticeable. Deborah said, "Your pearls connect symbol sells." Symbols guide, Eleanor corrected. People sell themselves on belief. They passed the bullpen where two data engineers decorated monitors with sticky pearls cut from paper. Laughter punctuated code keystrokes. 5:05 p.m. Rain washed sun slanted amber across desks. Eleanor compiled day 1 impact report, payroll salvaged. Social sentiment 18, council inaugurated, portal beta 173 kiosk suggestions. She titled document power in pearls. She slipped cardigan over shoulders, weightless yet grounding, and shut laptop. On her way out, she spotted Brianna photographing the sage accent wall. For Insta, Brianna said. Caption: every wall can be repainted. Add pearl pledge, Eleanor suggested. Ground floor lobby smelled of fresh lilies, weekend flower delivery. She paused at ledger display. A new sticky note dared bright yellow among muted olive brochures. Integrity never goes out of style, just like pearls. No signature. She exited into mild evening. Buses whooshed, lake breeze cool. Her phone buzzed with text from Governor's liaison. Welcome, Councillor Brooks. Another from Victor. Champagne to toast. She replied, tea, not bubbles, substance before sparkle. 7:00 p.m. At home, she placed the Akoya pearls in velvet case, then printed a photo from today, her with Brianna and Roland flanking atrium kiosk. All three flashing pearl pins. Roland draped his on mop handle. She slid print into frame set beside Harold's photo. Pearls in glass, pearl in paper, pearls in hearts. Harold once joked that pearls are the accountants of the gem world, diligent layers, balancing friction into beauty. Eleanor chuckled at the memory. She brewed lavender tea. Scornelled pressure persists, but power belongs to those who transmute it. Today we lace the entire company with Nair. Before sleep, she checked pearl pledge trending regionally. A user tweeted, bought thrift pearls to remind myself bullying ends when someone dares to polish kindness. Another male ally here, wearing mom's antique pearl tee-pin tomorrow. Eleanor set down the phone, turned off the lamp. Moonlight tumbled across the hardwood like spilled milk. The city's hum felt more lullaby than alarm. As she drifted, the pearls on her dresser glimmered, silent constellations forged from irritation, now orbiting purpose. In that gentle glow, she understood her own metamorphosis, not warrior queen nor corporate assassin, but alchemist of pressure into principle, of hurt into help, of cardigan comfort into courage stitched for many. And somewhere across eternity, Harold surely tilted his imaginary cap, whispering, "Shine on, Professor." 3 months later, Chicago's summer dawn unfolded in layers of peach and tangerine, sunlight feathering across Lake Michigan like watercolor. Eleanor Brooks watched it from the 42nd floor of Hartwell Tower, hands wrapped around a porcelain teacup embossed with tiny pearl dots. In the first amber glow, she could see her reflection, silver hair neatly twisted, soft rose cardigan draped over a sleeveless linen dress, and the Akoya pearls that had become an unofficial badge of honor around the office. June 30th, close of 2 and, if all went to plan, her last day as acting senior vice president of ethics finance. In a few hours she would hand the reins to a new director, someone who'd started the year taking selfies in the break room and ended it co-architect of a culture revolution. Brianna Cole. The appointment would be announced at noon. Few people knew yet. Fewer would expect it. She set the cup down, opened the French doors, and stepped onto the small balcony that clung to the executive lounge. The city smelled of lilac planters and hot concrete warming for the day. Below, commuter traffic crawled like shiny beetles along Wacker Drive. Somewhere to the south, jazz drifted faintly from a street musician already setting up outside Millennium Station. It reminded her of Harold, who believed every good presentation needed a saxophone solo, unseen but felt. Inside, her calendar blinked. 7:30 a.m. A Carter Initiative quarterly report. 9:00 a.m. The Governor's Resilience Council dial-in. 11:45 a.m. A all-staff town hall. Atrium. 3:00 p.m. A handoff farewell toast. Time to balance the final column, she whispered and re-entered the lounge. 7:30 a.m. The Ledger of Light. Conference room. Aurora buzzed with expectation. The Ethics Council's pearl pins glittered around the resin-shaped table. Roland in a fresh navy coverall. Javier in pressed uniform. Priya with stylus poised. Deborah with a muted pride in her smile. Even Tasha sat among them, now an intern with the nonprofit literacy program Eleanor had nudged her toward. She wore her grandmother's freshwater pearls and an expression of humble determination. Eleanor connected her tablet to the display. The first slide appeared a simple spreadsheet titled Grand Balance Sheet Culture Assets versus Liabilities. Columns glowed mint green on the asset side: transparency, accountability, psychological safety, talent retention, liabilities, harassment claims, turnover costs, reputational risk, shout in soft coral. Numbers trending down. 3 months ago we faced a deficit in trust. Today our asset column outweighs our liabilities by 42%. That figure is not dollars. It's percentage of employees reporting high engagement on pulse surveys. But engagement is convertible currency. Reduced attrition saved us $4.7 million. Decreased sick days saved another $320. And we signed 5 new clients citing our ethics turnaround. Roland beamed. Even the loading dock crew noticed fewer broken pallets when people like their jobs. Priya presented compliance metrics: 0 anonymous reports left unaddressed beyond 72 hours. 3 proactive investigations averting small fraud attempts, and mental health stipends used by 64% of staff. Brianna demonstrated the Pearl Portal version 2.0 no with color-coded orbs drifting across a digital lagoon wall in the lobby, each representing a resolved issue. Visitors snapped selfies in front of the living data art. Employees walked by daily reminders that whispers mattered. Eleanor concluded, "We balanced the books of morale. That's harder than balancing accounts receivable." Applause rippled. 9:00 a.m. Council of Resilience. She slipped into a quiet office for the video call with Governor Elena Morales and 9 council members, IBER experts, union leaders, nonprofit heads. Their topic: public-private partnerships for workforce mental health during cyber terror events. Eleanor shared Hartwell's blueprint: rapid response pods, teams trained to stabilize workflow and emotional health simultaneously when digital attacks strike. Our experience with the Friday DDoS showed technology can go dark, but people must stay lit, she said. The governor nodded vigorously and earmarked state grant funds to pilot pods across 10 mid-sized companies. Eleanor felt Harold's nudge of encouragement. 10:15 a.m. Surprise ledgers. She descended to the archival vault, temperature cool, lights dim, to retrieve 2 items for the noon town hall. 1, the vintage 1979 ledger book Roland had discovered. 2, a brand new blank ledger with cream pages edged in gold. She wrapped each in velvet cloth and rode the elevator up with a gentle smile, as though carrying infants of past and future. Her phone buzzed a text from Victor. Board approved your retirement package and the scholarship fund in Harold's name for accounting students over 50 returning to school. Champagne chilling for tonight, she answered with a linking glasses emoji and tucked the phone away, heart warm. 11:45 a.m. Town Hall. The Grand Balance Sheet. The atrium filled with more than 400 employees. Camera drones hovered to live stream for remote offices from London to Lagos. A banner arched overhead: integrity, the ultimate Roy. White lilies and fresh sage, Roland's suggestion, lined the stage, their scents twining like memory and hope. Deborah opened, acknowledging record profits and record pulse survey scores. Then she said, "All numbers have a storyteller. Ours is Ms. Eleanor Brooks." Applause thundered as Eleanor stepped to the lectern. Gray cardigan now donned, pearls gleaming under the stage lights. She placed the 2 velvet-wrapped volumes on a stool. She began, "Every accountant knows a balance sheet reports assets, liabilities, and equity. Life's balance sheet is no different. Assets are moments of courage, kindness, and truth. Liabilities are fear, greed, and silence. Equity is what remains when we subtract the worst from the best and discover our true value." She unwrapped the 1979 ledger, pages yellow but legible. This book recorded every cent the company earned in its first year. Accuracy was sacred. She traced a line of neat ink, but numbers alone weren't their only asset. There's a dried lilac petal pressed between pages 40 and 41. Someone cared enough to mark the scent of spring, evidence humanity coexisted with profit on day 1. She set it aside, lifted the blank ledger. "This one is untouched. It belongs to you." She opened to first page. In fountain pen she wrote the word integrity and signed her name. Then she handed the pen to Brianna standing nearby. Brianna wrote resilience and signed. The pen passed. Roland wrote dignity. Priya wrote justice. Javier wrote safety. Tasha, with trembling hand, wrote grace. Cameras zoomed. Viewers commented pearl emojis by the thousands. Eleanor continued, every quarter we'll add one word and one lesson. In 5 years, this book won't hold dollars, it will hold dividends of character. She turned to Brianna, eyes twinkling, and today, I pass the custodianship of that ledger, and much more, to someone who has shown the arc from growth to leadership. Gasps fluttered among the crowd. Brianna Cole, please step forward. Brianna startled, tears forming as Eleanor announced her as Director of Culture Analytics Ethics, the youngest in company history. Somewhere in the crowd, skeptics looked skeptical, but more smiled. Brianna spoke, voice shaky but clear, about learning to convert fear into fuel. She finished, power once scared me. Now I know power is just responsibility wearing fancy shows, core. If you're lucky, comfy sneakers. Laughter sparkled. Eleanor hugged her, the pearls pressing lightly against the younger woman's collarbone, a transfer of symbolic weight. Con 5 p.m. Post town hall waves. Chats exploded with praise, media tweeted from bully victim to boardroom visionary, and stock ticked up another point. More importantly, internal idea kiosks recorded 427 new suggestions in an hour. The company felt like a living, breathing organism finally in sync with its heartbeat. Eleanor retreated to her coffees, a space suffused with midday light. She packed the last of her belongings: Harold's photo, the brass scale, a paperweight shaped like an abacus, and a jar of pearl buttons collected from thrift shops over the years. Each item slid into a padded box labeled Home Ledger. She paused at the window overlooking the city. Below, the river glinted greenish blue. Beyond, the lake shimmered. She noted recent changes: new rooftop gardens, glass canopies trimmed with solar panels, bike racks brimming. Culture had gravitational pull, bending even architecture toward care. Her email chimed, subject per publication copy, Harvard Business Review. The article, co-authored by Eleanor and Deborah, titled Ethics as Working Capital, would appear in the September issue. She skimmed, proud but not possessive. Knowledge belonged to the world. 2:00 p.m. Governor's visit unplanned. Governor Morales arrived unannounced, security detail minimal. She strolled into finance like a neighbor dropping by for sugar. Greetings startled analysts with high fives. She found Eleanor. Counselor Brooks had to see the Revolution Ground Zero. She gifted a small silver oyster sculpture. Inside, a single freshwater pearl nested. State's new resilience academies will use this as logo. Eleanor thanked her sincerely. The governor whispered, rumor says National Task Force next year. Just imagine the balance sheet of a nation. Eleanor promised to consider. 3:00 p.m. Farewell toast. Champagne flutes and sparkling cider glittered in the atrium. Victor Pierce took the mic. Some people wield power like a hammer. Eleanor wields it like sunlight, steady, patient, undeniable. He turned to her, voice thick. Harold would say you turned accounting into alchemy. Eleanor replied, alchemy was always accounting in disguise. Laughter, cheers, a few misty eyes. She lifted her flute. To every pearl in this room, may we keep layering wisdom behind every irritation, until our collective luster lights the world. Glasses linked. 4:15 p.m. The last walk. Most employees returned to desks or weekend plans. The tower quieted. Eleanor asked Roland to walk with her floor to floor for a final walk half floor. They rode the service lift, emerging into hushed corridors. Marketing, her facilities. She thanked people: unseen Chiros, the night shift janitor, the barista prepping Monday's beans, the cybersecurity intern patching firewalls. At each stop she slipped a pearl button into their palms. For pressure overcome, she said. Their smiles were worth more than stock bumps. On the lobby level she paused by Marcus's station. He saluted. Wiping a tear, she pinned a pearl on his lapel. For keeping storms outside these doors. 5:00 p.m. The empty cubicle. Back on 24, Eleanor's desk sat cleared except a final envelope addressed Professor. Inside, a handwritten note from Brianna. Your cardigan courage stitched new seams in me. Enclosed, a braided bracelet laced with a single bead carved like a miniature ledger book. Eleanor clasped it on her wrist. She grabbed her box, turned off the desk lamp, and walked toward the elevator. The office mural, a time-lapse projection of floating pearls, shifted as she passed. One orb morphing into her silhouette, then dissolving into dozens of smaller pearls scattering across the wall. The system's AI had learned poetic timing. 5 p.m. Elevator descent. Alone in the glass elevator, she watched the floors drop. 23, 17, 8. Each ding felt like a chapter turning. She pressed her hand to the box holding Harold's photo. We did good, she whispered. The doors opened to the lobby glowing with the gold of late afternoon. For a moment she just stood there. People bustled, unaware or maybe consciously giving her space. Victor waited by the revolving doors, ready for the next ledger. Ready for blank pages, she said. They stepped outside. Summer air wrapped them warm. On the plaza, the company had installed a small sculpture overnight, an open brass ledger whose pages were mirrored steel catching sky and passerby faces. On one page an engraving read, "Truth recorded becomes light." On the other, E.B. 2024. Eleanor traced the letters, eyes moist. A tourist snapped a photo. A child touched the reflective page and giggled at her own distorted grin. The sculpture already belonged to the city. 6:00 p.m. Bench by the lake. They drove to the Hyde Park shoreline. Wind off the water tousled Eleanor's hair. Gulls awed overhead. At their favorite bench she placed a lily and the last pearl button from her pocket. The lake lapped gently, a metronome of tide and time. Victor broke the quiet. "So, Professor, what will you teach the world next?" She watched the horizon blur golden to indigo. "Maybe nothing. Maybe I'll just listen. Help people hear their own numbers." He handed her a sealed envelope, plane tickets to Paris, open return. First task, rest. Second, write the book. She laughed softly. "Numbers in air, how quiet strength profits everyone." "Bestseller already," he said. 8:00 p.m. Home ledger. Later, in her condo, sunset bleeding through lace curtains, she unpacked the box. She placed Harold's photo back on the mantel beside the brass scale. Balanced now with 2 pearls, 1 Akoya, 1 freshwater gifted by Tasha. She added the miniature ledger bracelet draped over a frame corner. She opened her journal, the very first page of a new notebook. At the top she wrote the grand balance sheet, subcolons, assets of the heart, liabilities of fear, equity of purpose. She started listing. Assets, quiet mornings, pearl pins, Brianna's courage, Roland's vigilance, governor's trust, Victor's unwavering belief, Harold's echoing applause. Liabilities, none were think tonight. Equity, a city gleaning hope, a company set to thrive, a woman ready to trade headlines for horizons. She closed the book, extinguished the lamp, and stood at the window. Stars speckled the sky, tiny pearls sewn into night's velvet cardigan. Sometimes, she thought, balance sheets end not with totals but with open space inviting what comes next. She smiled, slipping off her pearls, setting them on the sill where they caught starlight. Tomorrow, Paris. Next week, who knew? But tonight, numbers aligned with narrative. Pressure transformed into luster, and the world, at least her small corner of it, closed its books with pages aglow. Eleanor whispered into the quiet apartment, ledger balanced, future accruing interest. And somewhere, in memory's jazz-lit backroom, Harold struck a final chord, a gentle, perfect cadence, letting the story resolve on a note of lingering light.